Now we eagerly anticipate our next presentation, which is a fireside chat on AI, blockchain, tokenization, and crypto, the future evolution of economics. Joining us on stage will be Dr. Clara Guerra, the chairman of the European Blockchain Association and director officer for the financial market innovation and digital transformation for the, Liechtenstein government. I hope I said that correctly. Dr. Clara is a lawyer by trade with an interdisciplinary focus on high-tech and innovation in the private sector. As Deputy Director of the Office for Financial Market Innovation and Digitalization, she is responsible for fintech, blockchain, and legal innovation for the, once again, Liechtenstein government, pioneering regulations and innovation. Joining her on stage will be Mr. Christian Gleich, is that right? Who is the International Ambassador of the European Blockchain Association. Mr. Christian is a well-known consultant and an international speaker on topics related to blockchain, Web3, tokenization, and the metaverse. His focus over the last 25 years has been on the specific development of digital use cases and business models, as well as their monetization. Everyone, please put your hands together in a resounding round of applause for these distinguished individuals.
Nice one.
Oh boy.
Well, assalamu alaikum, and happy to have you here. A great audience, a great person I can interview. Really, really cool. Clara, it's your first time here. You've been introduced already. It's your first time in Dubai, and you've already met a lot of stakeholders, leadership from those topics we see above, blockchain, AI, token. How do you see this ecosystem here when it comes to maturity of the ecosystem and everything you find very interesting, very new here?
Thank you, Christian, and welcome and good afternoon from my side. It's really a pleasure to be here. And being the first time in Dubai, it's super interesting and very, very impressive how, this strategic, high-level commitment from government side to emerging tech and what it takes to create the future, undermined by also investment in infrastructure, capability building, and last but not least, of course, also the necessary investment for all that. So this is very impressive. And Liechtenstein, as we've all heard, it's a microstate in the middle of Europe, surrounded by Austria, Switzerland. We are ourselves very proud of pioneering regulation and being at the forefront of regulating these innovative new technologies. So that is, of course, a very good basis for exchange of ideas and cross-pollination of these ideas and how we approach these new topics and how we're dealing with them. And that builds is a really good basis for these conversations that we are having between the governments and the different competence centers interacting with that.
Nice. You've been personally involved. You actually co-led the setup of the Liechtenstein Blockchain Act, which now works as a standard framework, I would say, to so many countries and governments, where they take over a large portion of the Liechtenstein Blockchain Act to get a head start. Of course, they put regional regulations on top of it, but the Liechtenstein Blockchain Act is some standard, I would say. So can you share your vision for the integration of all these technologies, AI, blockchain, for example, and putting this into the government's economic strategies? How do these single technologies come together in a convergence as one technology, and how do they influence?
You're always full of amazing questions. Well, to start with AI, I think to take one step back in general, or if you look at AI and blockchain, these technologies have already been around now for quite some time.
True.
However, if you look at it on relating or from the perspective of mass adoption, how it actually lands in the mainstream and user experience, they're very, very different. I mean, AI is, it's plug and play with relates to, mass adoption, user experience. Just look at ChatGPT, other generative AI that is here. It's amongst us, and it's super easy to use. And for the user experience, it doesn't need an ecosystem. It doesn't need an infrastructure other than the internet to actually create value. And it also doesn't need collaboration to create a value for each and every user, right? However, when we talk about blockchain, then this is a really very infrastructural topic. So if we talk there about it really needs, it's not clearly a plug-and-play technology, so it needs the infrastructure to support it. The user experience, well, to put it mildly, it still leaves to be desired. There's still room for improvement. It's generally not that ideal yet, and where it has to be. And from the user value, or creating value for the user, the more people are in the ecosystem, the more it creates value. So it's not working itself for each and every user without a lot of people, a whole ecosystem being involved in that.
So you just mentioned mass adoption. What impact do you see of those technologies, AI, blockchain, that need this framework, they need this infrastructure? Yeah. What impact do you see onto all of our economies, maybe especially Liechtenstein, when a large portion of it right now, I would say, is DeFi, FinTech? What impact does it have, all those technologies, but especially AI, that is everybody interested in, blockchain, that needs some bigger efforts? What impact is there to the economies?
Well, the impact is huge. The confluence of these technologies all put together, all string together. If you take blockchain, for example, and IoT, and throw in digital identities as a catalyst for good measure, and tokenization, you have all the components that are needed for the industry 4.0 that we're striving for and that we're needing, that the trade needs, that the economy needs. But however, I see that regulation, it's often, the connotation is that it actually hinders innovation, that it stands in the way of innovation. I personally believe that it's actually a key enabler for these technologies to thrive, because the businesses need the legal clarity and they need the legal certainty to plan ahead and to build and for their operations, especially when it comes to cross-border interactions. And this is at the core. These technologies, they are not bound by geography, by political classes or bounds. So they are as international as the internet itself. And so for that, it needs frameworks. But in essence, AI for economy, or for us also, us as users, it completely reconceptualizes how we see and transfer value. And there are a lot of super exciting opportunities when you look at digital currencies, digital assets, digital payments. They are really redefining of our understanding of money, of value, also, of course, of trust.
So you mentioned regulation, and this is basically your day-to-day job, regulation policy making. Who in here is interested in the regulation and policies behind AI, blockchain, digital asset? Who's interested in it?
I promise it's not as dry as it may sound.
Who's happy that there is regulation and there will be regulation on all these topics?
Oh, show of hands, wow.
Okay,
yes.
like five hands, interesting. I would say regulation is necessary to prevent scam, to prevent users that are maybe not that savvy that we are, to prevent them from scams, from losing money, basically. But regulation should be there not for regulation's sake, but for proper regulation, for practical regulation. For that reason, you help set this up for Liechtenstein. How do you collaborate and cooperate with other countries maybe to unify this regulation? So not every country, not every government has their own regulation. How do you engage on a common, broader sense?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, I've noticed a slight hesitation when it comes to the regulatory question. So let me just quickly catch you up a bit in terms of where this has come, or where I'm coming from, or what my perspective on this is. Because, I mean, I already mentioned that I see innovation and regulation tightly interconnected, and as actually that innovation is being enabled by regulation. Especially in the financial sector, especially when it comes to these new technologies. And innovation in the financial sector is nothing new. I mean, this led us to having this complex and really extremely detailed regulatory framework when it comes to the financial sector, right? And the challenge that we are faced with now, these new technologies, especially with DeFi, building on blockchain, that they are not just a further evolution or a further development of financial innovation. There are infrastructural-wise, it needs a completely new paradigm. It's not just a continuous development. And so the problem is that we are addressing this new paradigm with completely different necessities, different risks also, and all of that. We're trying still, most of the time, to address it with the same old solutions that have worked in the past and have worked for different system, model, paradigm. And of course, that can't work. That is like putting a horse in front of a car. So it actually nivelates all the benefits, all the advantages that this new technology bring, whilst at the same time not addressing the new risks that they bring. And so, well, in Liechtenstein, we have early on realized the potential of these technologies and what they can bring to the table and what they can bring to our economy. So we went back to the drawing board already in 2015 and 16, and we came up with an innovation framework, so an agile governance approach that allows for the regulatory framework to be agile and developing, adapting to the dynamic development of technology, and at the same time to provide a framework that actually also provides legal certainty and stabilities for the companies to thrive. And so this is a multi-tiered approach. I won't bore you with the details now, but so one of these pioneering initiatives that came out of this innovation framework is the Blockchain Act. So we were the first country in 2020 globally to introduce a comprehensive legal framework for blockchain technology, and not just blockchain technology actually, but for the whole of token economy with a separate civil law part. So we introduced the token as a legal object into our legal framework, and so providing clarity on how a token is being legally transferred, how the token is being owned, and so on and so forth. And to cut to chase, so this framework has been taken as inspiration for larger jurisdictions. So the VARA framework here in Dubai shares a lot of similarities and was inspired by this Token Act, and also the EU upcoming legal framework, Markets and Crypto Assets Regulation, is drawing inspiration and shares a lot of similarities in the DNA. And of course, there's also a lot of international cooperation and collaboration going on, and as also co-chair of the European Blockchain Association, I've been engaged in that on a high level, but you, Christian, have been more hands-on with the active and direct and concrete collaborative efforts. So maybe you can share a bit about what we're doing, especially also here in Dubai, to further this exchange.
Yeah. Thanks for going into that. It's the European Blockchain Association tries to be a bridge builder between Europe, obviously, and the UAE in general, but also Dubai in specific. So, for example, we're officially partnering with Dubai Blockchain Center of Dr. Marwan, and try to educate people, because the technology is great. If nobody knows about the technology, what's the use of it? So we try to educate by workshops, by lectures about this topic, but now also about AI. So we're also partnering with DFF, Dubai Future Foundation, to bring knowledge to the people, but also to find common ground for regulations and prepare what you've been speaking about on a partnership basis, while obviously the Dubai governments and semi-governmental entities have their ideas how to propel all the efforts for blockchain, for AI, for tokenization, for digital assets in general, such as you do. So I'm actually trying to, as I said, to be a bridge builder, but also to reach common ground and phase this more into the governments and government, semi-governments and entities, because it doesn't help us all if we have fractionalized regulation and policies, but we need a common ground. Otherwise, we get like very, very disturbed by different use cases that just work here perfectly, but they don't work anywhere else in the world. So we have to basically unify this.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving me room to talk about this, because I think it's super important to reach this common ground. And we were just talking today with an entity here of Dubai that is absolutely interested in your efforts, for example, when it comes to lawmaking and regulation. It's a super manual process, actually. But I heard and learned that you are actually trying to digitize lawmaking processes, and that governmental entity here was very much interested, obviously, in more efficiency and trying to take over. Can you open up a bit more about this effort in digitizing very manual processes? Let's learn from each other. That's my idea.
Of course. Well, this is still a pilot project that is a little bit under wraps, so I might be able to share a little bit more about that further down the road. But what I think is, well, what I would like to mention first, thank you for your really excellent work here in Dubai and as international ambassador for the European Blockchain Association. So we're really happy that you're doing that and pushing that forward. And with regards to the European Blockchain Association and AI and blockchain, I would also like to draw your attention on an outcoming paper that we will be, it's a collaborative effort between INATBA and actually the EBA, where we are writing exactly about this intersection between blockchain and AI and all the implications and interconnections. And so there's also like credits to and a shout out to Mariana de la Roche and my colleague from the EBA, Erwin Folora. So we're working on that. So please sign up for our newsletter, and it will be. It is supposed to come out by the end of this year. And it's like just some final words. I would say. I mean, we as a government or we as a community, as actually international organizations and also as communities as are gathered together here, I think the call to action is to harness the tools that at our disposal now to actually realize the sustainable and digital economy that we're endlessly talking about. So this is what I would like to end on.
What can I say more? That's great. That's great closing words. Thanks so much for being here. I hope it's not your last time in Dubai.
Definitely not. No.
It's a beautiful place, as we all know. If you have any questions, raise them now if you want.
Poised to come back, or otherwise, please reach out on LinkedIn or via my office. I'm happy to answer every and any questions.
So we're around. Q&A if you want. Longer questions afterwards. Any questions? So there's a question in the very back.
Oh,
Can we get a... I'm gonna
get a mic there, I think.
Perfect.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you so much for your great speech. I have a question related to new investor. As I am a new investor, I want to invest. So the basic thing, according to me, it's my opinion, it's about the regulations. Because I noticed most of the globally people are doing scamming. Okay, so how can I stay aware there's a scammer, and how can justify which is good and which is bad, as a regulation, of course.
I would answer this that way, that the approach that has been taken by us and the approach that others are now following is not to regulate a token as such, like, to say, okay, security tokens, utility tokens, and to classify them and regulate them according to their classification, or to regulate a certain business model, but actually to put the service providers providing services on blockchain technologies under regulation by having them to register and comply with certain minimum requirements with regards to risk management, operational requirements, company setup, asset segregation in the case of insolvency, these kind of things. And also put them under supervision in analogy to financial services, actually. The key is that the requirements should, of course, not be as tough as for financial services, but they should risk-based, and they should address according to the concrete risk that would be manifested by that business model that they are pursuing. So I think what for the user, how to differentiate what is a scam and what is not. I don't want to give any investment advice. Obviously, the best investment is always in your own education, in understanding the technology, and the governments have to do a lot of work to raise more awareness and to bring out more education in that regard. But to then go to actually regulated service providers, where you can be sure that they have to comply with a certain minimum set of rules, and they are being regulated, they are being supervised, so that comes with actually managed risks and minimizes the risk for clients, and well, it strengthens consumer protection and all of that. So I think this is a good orientation, or starts to give a good orientation. And then if you choose to take to another platform, of course, that's your choice, and so do it, but then be aware of the risk that might come with that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Is that answering your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So it's in the end of the time, I have to look at all the strategy and risk management, money management. It's on in my pocket. That's it.
Perfect.
Thanks so much. I think we run out of time. If there are any more questions, please feel free to address us at the stage.
Reach out.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.